Welcome to the Hoosier Tailgate. Indiana made homecoming a celebration, rolling past Michigan State 38-10 and climbing all the way to number 2 in the nation. Quarterback Fernando Mendoza once again showed why his name is firmly in the Heisman conversation, leading the Hoosiers with precision, leadership, and the kind of big play ability that has this offense humming. The defense matched that energy, shutting down the Spartans and keeping Memorial Stadium rocking from start to finish. But now, the spotlight shifts to Bloomington this Saturday as the Hoosiers welcome a surging UCLA squad that's reeled off 3 straight wins since their coaching change. It's one of the biggest matchups of the Big Ten season, and it's all happening in Memorial Stadium this Saturday. This is the Hoosier Tailgate, and it starts now.
And picked off up the sideline. Indiana, Asbury, walking them down. Woo! IU, America. They got a football team now.
Hello and welcome to the Hoosier Tailgate here on the Hoosier.com. I'm the coach Shannon Griffith. Indiana made a homecoming one to remember, hammering the Michigan State Spartans 38-10 and climbing all the way to number 2 in the nation. Quarterback Fernando Mendoza once again showed why his name is firmly in the Heisman conversation, leading the Hoosiers with precision, leadership, and his big play ability on Saturday. And then add to that, the defense locked down the Spartans from start to finish, really not giving them a chance to put any momentum together. And Memorial Stadium was rocking from kickoff to a final whistle with some bad weather in between. But now with the spotlight shifts back into Bloomington this week, as the Hoosiers will entertain a very hot and surging UCLA team that has reeled off 3 wins in a row since Tim Skipper took over for Deshaun Foster after the bye week. And I think they are a team that's going to be a team that's going to have a lot to say in this Big Ten race that we are in as a whole. And right now, Indiana and Ohio State is at top of the standing in the Big Ten, with both of them 4-0, followed by a lot of teams at 3-1. There is up to, I think, 7 or 8 teams that are 3-1 in conference. So it's kind of a unique thing as we come down to the stretch here, and it's going to be very important for this Indiana Hoosier team to stay sharp. The one thing from Saturday that I don't necessarily think was disappointing, because I said Aiden Childs is a quarterback that can hurt you in 2 ways. He's got an arm that's very lively, and he can make any throw that he wants to make, and he did on Saturday. Very, very good, almost matching Fernando Mendoza stride for stride in that ball game. But the other thing he can do is run, and we saw that on Saturday. They only had, I think, 75 yards total rushing against Indiana, 60 of it on one play. Aiden Childs breaking a big one. And that is the things that Indiana on Saturday, especially defensively, gave up way too many big plays, although Indiana won the big play battle and therefore won the football game. And the bottom line is a win is a win is a win. You can always focus on what you went wrong on Saturday versus Michigan State in order to prepare for a very, very good UCLA team. We'll talk about a little later tonight in the show as well. We welcome you, that all of you joining us either through X or YouTube. By all means, if you have a question, we want you to take advantage and put it in there. We'll try to get it answered for you as quickly and as possible as well. Remember, on my X profile at Hoosier Tailgate, there's a bio link tree there to you can hit on, and gives all the affiliates that Hoosier Tailgate's affiliated with. The biggest one being Fanatics, who has a lot of great Indiana gear, and it's almost November. So don't delay. While the Hoosiers are still playing, it's never too early to start thinking of that Christmas gift for that special Hoosier fan. Click on that link, and you'll take the Fanatic store will take you right to the Hoosier Tailgate storefront, where you can browse and select any of or all things that you like in that. But thank you for that. If you do purchase anything, and remember, we do get a commission sent back to us, and we just roll that back into the show in order to make this as informative and the best Indiana Hoosier football YouTube show that you can come to each and every week on Mondays and Thursdays in season and get all the great information from the Indiana Hoosiers all through the recruiting season and all through spring and summer. But let's look into what's been going on in the Big Ten right now. As you can see, it's been a crazy, another crazy weekend in college football when you think of all the aspects of what we're dealing with on kind of an everyday basis in this regard. You know, Hoosiers move up to number 2 in both AP and coaches poll. Not surprised. Louisville upset Miami this past Friday, and that enabled for Indiana to move up in the polls. And right now, Ohio State, I do think, is probably pretty well settled into the number 1 position nationally. It's a potential collision course for these two to potentially play in the Big Ten championship game. And I would encourage you to reserve any tickets you want for the Big Ten championship right now. I do think they allow you to put a deposit in and things of that nature. But if you want a ticket to the Big Ten championship game there in Indy, you better act now, because it is looking that way. Now, for Indiana being a number 2, again, we've talked about them now becoming the hunted. They have a big bullseye right on their front chest. And Michigan State knew that, and they played very, very well. Their defense was their Achilles heel. They gave up a multitude of big plays. Now, the only thing that I will say that has Mika a little concerned right now, offensively speaking, that Michigan State defensive front pretty much handled Indiana's run game. And what was weird on Saturday is when Indiana went back to pass, though, the pass pro was perfect. But for Indiana to be able to move the Michigan State defensive front 7 off the ball to create great running lanes, it was a battle. And now it looks like, when you think about it, they had 131 yards. They had a couple big runs here and there, but not up to the standard that Indiana had been rushing the ball. I do have a little bit of concern in that arena, because it showed its face against Iowa. It showed its face now against Michigan State a little bit. The Oregon game, I thought they ran the ball very well, came off the ball, handled Oregon's front very well. And for whatever reason, they just didn't have a lot of running success against Michigan State. And that may be the reason. And sometimes it shows you that's why Fernando threw for so many yards, is that what they were giving Indiana was more in the passing game, which I thought was kind of obvious. If I'm facing Fernando Mendoza, I'm going to find ways to keep him in some pressure situations and try to find pressures and disruptions and find ways to just kind of play coverage in behind them and make them force them to almost run the football and to see what that is intact, especially if you feel that you've got a mismatch in the front four. And right now, that's my only concern offensively is the inconsistency of the run game of late, especially against Iowa and now Michigan State. But that's being me as a coach over picky, I guess you could say, in some respects. So that's kind of that idea where I have that concern with the Hoosiers when it comes to running the football. And we'll get a chance to take a look at that. When you talk about the college football playoff race, Indiana is right now firmly in, I would say. If they continue to, again, run the table, I think there's no question that Indiana is firmly in that. I do believe it's a couple more weeks to the first reveal of the college football playoff bracket. I know there's some mock ones, especially with On3. You can look at that one with that, but the actual brackets itself doesn't come out till later here in a couple weeks. But right now, I say Indiana, barring any type of craziness, is firmly in the college football playoffs at this point. But that's as always, a here and now proposition. Where you're at today is quite differently sometimes than where you're at 3 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now, 5 weeks from now. So we'll have to continue for that aspect of things with Indiana just to keep them rolling here as they are the hunted, as I stated. Florida has fired Billy Napier there. Gators choose to move on even after a win. That's the crazy thing. They got a win against Mississippi State on Saturday, and they decided to make a move and get their search underway. And when you've got Penn State looking for the best opportunity, now you add Florida into the equation there. Those two schools are going to be probably talking to the same individuals because of what's out there right now. I know there has been some rumblings about Urban Meyer and his maybe desire to go back into coaching. I doubt that from this standpoint. I think he enjoys what he's doing on the outside, but we'll see. But Florida Gators, another job opening up in Indiana. We don't have to worry about Coach Cignetti as they locked him up last week in a really big deal for Coach Cignetti and the Hoosiers. Heisman watch Mendoza, number one in some polls when you look at it. Of course, the performances he's had over the last 8 weeks of games, getting better each game, throwing the ball with accuracy, big plays, throwing it down the field, making those plays. You see why his name is in the mix. I think it's Ty Simpson kid at Alabama, if I'm not mistaken, is the other kid that is highly mentioned in the race. But Mendoza, I would quite understand why Indiana may start doing some designated politicking, I guess you could say, with the media and such to see where he gets the possibility of getting into the equation with the Heisman. But I think right now, the most definitely he's in that top part of that. Let's see here with some questions. Yeah. Good evening, Michael and Robert. Appreciate you both coming back. Justin, hope the Hoosiers can win. Well, you know what? That's a definite possibility. And as Indiana goes on in this season, right now they're playing pretty darn well. And if they can keep it rolling into the college football playoffs and get a good draw, then I do think they have a great chance. They will have to face a great team, just like anytime you go into the college football playoffs. They'll face a great team if they go play Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game. So some time there to be hopeful for, as well as also cautiously optimistic because you still got some ball games in front of you here with this UCLA team right now. Yeah, it's full blow right now, Robert. The coaching carousel is now seeming to become a earlier and earlier type of status when you think about it. I don't like it. I understand that it's a business. When I was in coaching, even back when I was coaching at that level in 94 through 2002, I believe, even at that time, what changed in that era when I was coaching, the internet boards started to become a valuable ground for fans to congregate and talk about their sports, kind of like what the Hoosier.com has right now. And that in itself was always a pulse in some respects of what the outside perception was. And that kind of started changing the landscape of some of the things that schools have done over the years now, rather than waiting to the end of the season for a full evaluation. Sometimes ADs just pull the trigger. I'm surprised that Florida State didn't make a move. They're going to face a big buyout there as well. I mean, Billy Napier got, I think, $20 million, and $10 million's due 30 days after, his final day of employment was. And you've got some significant buyouts out there on top of the rev share and things like that, that these athletic departments are putting on their balance sheets. And so it's crazy in that regard with that, in that respect. Huge, John. Losing Wyatt was huge. And we're going to listen to Coach Cignetti here in a second, but in his presser today, but there's no question losing Kellen Wyatt, a kid that I said was probably a big steal for Indiana during the spring portal period. And I feel that was pretty much on display with the way that kid was playing. And I truly hate it for him, because I tell you, I think he was one of those quiet leaders on defense. We'll see some changes there. I think you're going to see probably more of a Stephen Daly moving more to the outside. Maybe they might switch Kamara back over there and put, whatever. And they did not use their 3 linebacker set this much this past week, where they had Jones and Hardy on the field at the same time. So they've got some options there with their structure on what it is they want to do now that Wyatt is out of the picture. As Matt has eloquently stated, it's next up, and you are correct. And that's the greatest thing about when you are a player and you are a guy that's 1 play away, 2 plays away from potentially being the guy that's going to start the rest of this year. You better have been preparing for these last 8 weeks. Your work has better been very good and defined, so that time that they put, tap you on the shoulder and you say you're up, the worst thing you can do is go out there and just pee down your leg, so to speak. Some positions it's easier. At quarterback, it's very hard to go from being a backup to the guy. It's a hard, difficult transition because of repetitions and things of that magnitude. But in this day and age, it's next man up, and that's important. Why you build your roster, make sure you have a great foundation, as well as who have you picked up via the portal, and some guys now go turn it loose and see what they got. But I think that was a big blow to Indiana this past game day on Saturday. I know they didn't state kind of what it really was, but I kind of got the impression with that from the broadcast. PK, good to see you. I'm not quite sure on that question. I'm looking into that, because now you're kind of getting into who was the third deep guy and things of that matter. Do they shuffle some guys around? With all that, we'll kind of get a feel for that heading into this game with UCLA. And we're going to take a peek at UCLA. Of course, we'll have a full breakdown on the Bruins this Thursday, but they are by far, outside of Ohio State and Indiana at this point, the hottest team in the Big Ten. I mean, they're 3-0. They've elevated their status. Now, Sig says they were undefeated in the Big Ten. That is not the case. They lost to Northwestern 17-14, and they're one of those teams that's 3-1. So this game is huge for UCLA. It's a huge game in the sense that, not only if they come in here and beat Indiana, now they have the potential tiebreaker against Indiana if they would happen to win out. And they would be potentially in the Big Ten championship. So there's a lot of things still out there in terms of who's going to play for the Big Ten championship. And right now, UCLA is the team that's red hot. New coordinator. I think it's Steve Neuheisel, who played quarterback there as a backup to him. He's Rick Neuheisel's boy. And he's the one that's gone to the coordinator spot and revolutionized this offense that was very anemic, but picked it up. In the first game he had as a true coordinator was against Penn State. What a challenge that was. Hey, we're going to take a second here. Let's listen to Coach Cignetti from earlier today talk about the UCLA Bruins.
Okay. UCLA.
Oh.
Okay. UCLA. We're playing a 3-0 football team that's undefeated. That's 3-0 in the conference. Since they have retooled their staff and now have their new defensive coordinator and offensive staff in place. Very impressive football team, okay? And offensively, this team is rushing for 233 yards a game right now in their last 3 games, which would be against Penn State, Michigan State, and Maryland, okay? Time of possession, 36.5 minutes. That means the other team has the ball 23.5 minutes. 50% on third down, 70% on fourth down. They've gained 2 possessions with 2 fake punts. So they're keeping the ball away from the other team. They're starting fast, outscoring people in the first half 58-17. Okay, averaging 33 points a game. And defense, a lot of different personnel packages. Really try to keep you off balance, really impressed with what they do. When you get outside of normal down and distance situations, you see a lot of stuff. They got about 7 personnel packages, a variety of blitzes, pre-snap looks with linebackers mugged to try to confuse the quarterback a little bit. And they're a rejuvenated football team. And led by a talented quarterback who really has a quick body and a live arm and has made some big plays with his legs also. Really good skill people and, a new offensive design, so to speak. So, we're playing a 3-0 football team at home this Saturday at 12 o'clock. Michigan State, good conference win. Offense scored touchdowns their first 5 drives. The first 2 in the third quarter were great to see. They're all great to see. Defense shut them out the last 38 minutes of the game till, at the end we had quite a few of the starters out. They kicked the field goal at the end. We didn't get off to the greatest start. Michigan State had 2 possessions. We had 1 possession, and there was 9 minutes left in the second quarter. So at that point, every play was going to be really important. But we did a great job of adjusting and playing a little better. And, 2/3 of the game we pitched a shutout. So special teams, we had a 22-yard punt return, made all our extra points, field goal. Both kickoff guys kicked the ball out of the end zone. We didn't punt. They punted twice, once with the quarterback. So, but this is going to take tremendous preparation and effort on our part this Saturday. Questions?
Just first, real quick, did you have any updates on Kellen Wyatt? Did he come out of that game?
Yeah. Wyatt suffered a knee injury. Pass rushing, was engaged with the offensive tackle, got his leg extended, came down a little funny. Right now it looks like a long-term injury, and I'm not sure if we'll see him the rest of the season or not.
In terms of injuries in general with your team, I know this, some of it's luck and some of it is avoiding those kind of things. But when you look, I don't know if you look at the Big Ten availability reports each week, but their teams mostly with 20, 15 names on there. You guys have avoided that. You've talked about your practice plan, but was there like a season where you did have a lot of injuries that changed you to kind of reevaluate things? Like when did this kind of start? And is there anything specifically that you credit Derek Owings for doing with his training to sort of avoid some like the soft tissue stuff that, you see these reports.
Yeah, I think Derek is key on the soft tissue stuff because even, way back, JMU, for instance, we had our share of hams. And then, when we hired Derek, that first year we had a couple, and we discussed it. He did a lot of research on it, too. And we've had very few soft tissue things. A lot of the knees that occur nowadays can be non-contact. And not much you can do about it. It's outside your control. But I've always been a relatively short practice guy. My practices probably have gotten shorter, even shorter, through the years. And we do everything we can to prepare the team fully, but keep them fresh and healthy.
Nico Iamaleava, I guess, just like, have you seen, obviously, different play caller and maybe structurally trying to do some different things? Have you seen them use him in different ways that have really kind of unlocked maybe that dual threat ability that he's shown through this 3-0 stretch?
Well, truthfully, everything we're watching right now is offensive. Their offense is the last 3 games. I haven't watched any of their offense prior to that, except for maybe what I saw on TV. And the defense really is 4 games old. But, at that point, the offense had not changed. So we're focusing in on the last 3 games with the people that are pushing the buttons and calling the shots right now. Nico can really spin the ball. He can make all the throws. He's got a really quick release. He's got a live body, a really quick body. And, that's why you've seen some of the long games out of the pocket with him.
Coach, you mentioned also after the game we talked about it, but you mentioned the defense got off to a little bit of a slow start. Michigan State was doing some things. After watching film, anything you guys pinpoint? I mean, obviously they get some credit too, but anything that you guys saw that you could do different?
From my perspective, we had a great second half against Oregon, and the whole theme was our response and doing what you got to do. And I just don't know that we really answered the bell right away. And I think we did. The first 2 plays we had them bottled up. And then they had a 3rd and 13, and we had a guy make kind of a poor decision, bid on a 6-yard route, and turned a deep one loose. If we could have gotten off the field there. And then, we had a missed assignment on their touchdown pass into the bench. And, we had some missed tackles. There were a couple other missed assignments in the back end. Not misalignments, but just missed assignments. And once we got that tightened up, we were better. But it wasn't our A game. But, we had a lot of A games here. I think we've given up, 6 or 7 touchdowns all year. So.
Coach Stephen Daly has come in and played really nicely in a reserve role. How much does he need to step out now that Kellen Wyatt's out, and what have you seen that he's been so impactful early? Yeah,
he's a guy I really wish we had a couple years, because he's a tremendous athlete and has really, once he's learned the defense, he's really making fast progress. He's got size, strength, speed, suddenness, and he plays hard. And, he was our player of the game on defense last week. And he'll take on even more of a role now.
There's the head man, Kurt Cignetti, talking about this UCLA Bruin team as well as some of the injuries and Mayhew stepping in as well. And I know that Dupe kid. Yeah. As far as I know, again, you get rolling into the season and your focus kind of turns to who are the top 22 on offense and defense, and not much of the guys that they plan on redshirting. That may change, moving a young kid into more of a backup position. If I'm Signetti, and I'd probably think his thought process and Haynes's thought process is, only in the rare necessity would they probably take a red shirt off of a kid. If that, it got to a point where they had more than they injury wise, but we shall see. I just think they're going to have Daly involved in a lot more and, do some things structurally at times that may benefit, things of that nature, but we'll have to see what that looks like. Indiana never puts out a two deep. They're one of the few Big Ten teams that do. There are others, of course, but Indiana never puts out a two deep, and don't know why that is. They just don't, and they haven't for quite some time. So it's not like a SIG rule. I know when Kevin Wilson was the head coach, he didn't even put out a two deep. On rare occasions did you see anything two deep wise in season in that respect. But hey, we'll find out. I think they've got Daly. I think he's a good player. I think he's playing fast. I think he's one of those guys that can do a lot in that regard. So we'll wait and see on some of that as well. And we'll go down here and take a look at, let's take a look at some of the Big Ten from games this past week, who won and lost. Of course, Minnesota, a big win over Nebraska. That is a big loss there for Coach Matt Rule at Nebraska, because that game for them was a kind of a must win to keep their ball club at the forefront there at Nebraska. Gave up 9 sacks to Minnesota, and Minnesota right now is playing some good ball as well. And they are one of those teams that I think is also in that one loss category, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, they're 3-1 in the Big Ten. So anyway, they got a big win. Michigan humbles Washington 24-7. The Wolverines are up and down. They're kind of a team this year that there are times when they look really good, like they did against Washington, and there are times they look not so great, like they did against USC. But they won and did a great job with Washington on Saturday. Northwestern and Purdue, I forgot to get that score. I believe Northwestern won that ball game, if I'm not mistaken. And I want to say they were shutting them out for the most part. I'm trying to look that up real quick since I missed it. Yes, Northwestern won that ball game 19-0. And Northwestern right now too is another team that is looking pretty good as well. They go from beating Penn State at Penn State. They're also a team at 3-1 in the conference, to beating and shutting out Purdue 19-0. So right now, they too are playing some good football. Ohio State goes into Camp Randall and beats Wisconsin 34-0. Wisconsin is, I just don't know what Luke Fickell can do there, other than them making a full change, because they've changed coordinators a couple times. They've done this, they've done that, but they're 0-4 in the Big Ten. Rutgers is 0-4 in the Big Ten. The biggest surprise is that Michigan State and Penn State both are 0-4 in the Big Ten. And Maryland, who lost a tough game on Saturday with UCLA. I mean, Maryland goes right down the field in that ball game with in a 2-minute offense. They go right down the field and get the big score. And thinking that they're going to get a chance to maybe, I think, overtime or what, but they did that. And then UCLA orchestrates a drive down there, and they had a bunny field goal, and the kicker nailed it and lost that game. And that was a big game as well. But, you know, Oregon handles Rutgers 56-10, like I stated earlier. Penn State, a 1-point loss at Iowa. That's another dagger for that team, losing by Iowa by 1. That one, I was a little surprised that Iowa didn't have a little bit more spread on that one. But again, they had coaching change and played pretty decently. Maryland, that one, there you go. UCLA walk-off field goal to win it. And then Notre Dame handled USC 34-24 up in South Bend. And so the Fighting Irish, even though they've got 2 losses on the season, if they would win out, go 10-2, you got to think they're probably in the college football playoffs. Can't see that being any different at this point in time. So that was the Big Ten scoreboard. We're going to take a look at the rankings right now as the AP poll came out. There's the top Indiana, Ohio State, and Iowa. And the rest of the gang. Alabama had a huge win this weekend. Georgia found a way to beat Ole Miss. That was a crazy game. But you can see kind of the rest of it there. See, a good question, PK. Does a 9 a.m. start for UCLA will have an effect on their play? Well, I do think they played a noon game against Northwestern, and that's one game that they lost. And I do believe that was on Big Noon. And for those that I'm sure everyone knows, Saturday, we're going to have Fox's Big Noon kickoff as well as the Fox noon game of the week this week. So yeah, that 12 p.m. start time for a team like UCLA coming from the West to the Midwest is a 9 a.m. kick for them. I've always stated that I was always surprised that those teams get put into that, box of having to play a 9 a.m. game. It's kind of like going to the West Coast and playing a night game, a team from the Midwest or East Coast, because you play an 8 o'clock kick at USC in the evening. It's 11 o'clock, So those are the type of games that can at times be a little bit of an advantage. Does that mean they're going to come in here? No, they're fired up, man. They're 3-1 in the Big Ten. They got a chance to go play the number 2 team in the country, which they think they're going to come in here and think they can beat Indiana in their own backyard. They'll be juiced with that 9 o'clock time period. But again, what they'll probably end up doing more than likely is they're going to be here Thursday evening so that they can get their bodies acclimated on Friday with doing some type of practice walkthrough at 9 a.m. and be ready to get on the Midwest time zone for the Saturday game. So, but travel does wear on you. It can be a factor, but I don't think you'll see too many coaches using it as an excuse, as a reason why they may not do well on a Saturday afternoon. And then, of course, the coaches' top 10 poll, Indiana, again, there too, as you can see who's all there in the top 10 via the coaches poll. And I tell you, it's a crazy top poll when you think about it, because there's teams that are good teams that only have 1 loss that are on the outside looking in right now. And this next 6 weeks of conference play is really going to have a huge impact on who's going to be playing for conference championships, and B, who will get into the college football playoffs. And I do think this year you're going to have teams that are worthy of being in it are going to be left out of it because you only have 12 spots, 11 for the P4s and 1 for the Power 5 or the Group of 5, and it's just the way it is. So there's plenty of opportunities over the next 6 weeks for teams. So nobody in some respects is really out of it. You look at all those teams that have one loss right now in the Big Ten, and you got Iowa, 1 loss. That was to the Indiana. Michigan, 1 loss. Minnesota, 1 loss. Northwestern, 1 loss. Oregon, 1 loss. UCLA, 1 loss. USC, 1 loss. I mean, you look at that. Now, Indiana, out of that group, the only teams that they play on that schedule of those teams that have 1 loss is UCLA, and that's it. They already beat Iowa. They don't play Michigan. They don't play Michigan, Minnesota, Northwestern. Of course, they beat Oregon. UCLA, correct. They're playing them. They do not play SC. They've already beat Illinois. They do not play Nebraska or Washington. Those teams are 2-2. So you can see how it can be really conflated there at the top. And that's why Saturday's game is so huge for Indiana. And that's why we're going to take a peek at them a little bit more here in a second. But let's take a look at some of these. Let's see here. Let's go over here to Stack in this ball game on Saturday, and you can kind of see Indiana where they kind of had control with some things. Again, 38-13 in a game that probably in some respects was a lot closer than that score indicated. Indiana had a great second half, and they were on fire in the first. They only had 3 possessions. That's the crazy part. Indiana only had 3 possessions in the first half because Michigan State was not only consuming the clock in their drives, but even if they didn't score, it was keeping Indiana's offense on the sideline. And that's why it was so huge for Indiana's offense to get the 3 scores, because that game could have got out of hand real quick just because Indiana didn't have any possessions. So overall, look at Fernando had 332 yards. I said Childs had 293. Third down conversions, Indiana was 5 of 8. Third down conversions for Michigan State, 5 of 14 at 36%. And that got skewed in the second half because in the first half, they were darn near 100% on that. And then fourth down conversions, Indiana, 50% on that. The other one was when E.J. Williams' foot, he had his toe down and he needs to drag it, but he put his heel down and his heel came out of bounds. And once you utilize your whole foot on the playing surface, because it's looked at as one full appendage, it's an out of bounds. He was out of bounds. But, UCLA, look at that, 75%. They were 3 of 4 on fourth downs. This team coming in, UCLA, guarantee it, they will go for it on fourth down because it's shown that Indiana has given up some fourth downs in situations, and they're going to go for it. I mean, Indiana gave up a 3rd and 15 on that first drive of the game. And, that was a big, big thing for them. Let's see, make sure I'm not absolutely. I thought the crowd was great. I know that the weather had a lot to do with some of the people not staying around, and I can understand that. But for the most part, the students were great. And I think Fernando mentioned that after the game. So in that respects, and you're correct, Indiana can become a tough place to play. If that place is loud and full, hey, it's a huge benefit for Indiana. Red zone scores. Indiana was 2 of 3, while Michigan State was 3 of 4. But the touchdown deal was Indiana had 33% on touchdowns to 25% from Michigan State. No turnovers. that was a little surprising because I thought Indiana would try to, I'd hope they'd get at least 2. But you can see the time of possession. Michigan State 31-28 for Indiana. David, glad that you can make it with us here tonight. And that action of that play, you can't blame the. Oh yeah, you mean as far as on the 4th down reception? I mean, it was a great grab. I was hoping they would count it, man. But it's he gave it his all there. Great throw, it was a great catch. It just unfortunately was out of bounds. I mean, when they finished it all. But you can see right there that Indiana was pretty good on statistic wise, offensively, defensively. You look at it and you say, okay, they give up 367 yards of offense to a team that was averaging about 300. They gave up 293 passing yards. That one was the shocking part for me because they had only averaged 200 yards a game. That Indiana gave up that much. And Childs dude was hot now. The kid was flinging it. So sometimes you just got to tip your hat and say, great job, young man. I mean, it is what it is. If you don't get pressure, and Indiana did not get a lot of pressure on him. Now, they end up having a couple sacks, but there were a lot of times where that kid was clean and was able to stand tall in the pocket, let the route develop. And, when you give up a quarterback time in the pocket, he'll pick you apart, especially good ones. I mean, Fernando's a prime example of that. Let's see here. Let's go over to the game objectives here. Then we'll take a break and come back and get into a little bit of video from Saturday. Dominate both lines of scrimmage. I don't think that was the case on Saturday. There were times where, yes, that was true, but it wasn't a consistent truth for the whole ball game. I had Indiana rushing for 250 and throw for 300. While they hit the throw for 300, they didn't even come close to that one. So that was a no. Stay on schedule. I do think for the most part they did. Especially in the second half, they were a lot better. I do think they did exploit the secondary and attack downfield with that. The money downs, I thought they did well on that one as well in the game. I don't think the defense put enough pressure on Childs on Saturday. I think, especially in the first half, they just couldn't get home. Even when they rushed 4, they brought a 5th guy. I mean, they just couldn't get home, and they did a great job of scheming him up, and they screened him. That's the other thing you don't forget about. Michigan State ran a lot of screens, and Indiana is an attacking defense. And they play with reckless abandon. And sometimes when you see a team like that, you got to screen them. And Michigan State did that, and it tempoed them down some in that regard. They had no takeaways on the day. Special teams, while they didn't score or set up a score, and I don't count field goals in that request. I'm looking for touchdowns. They did have that one long return by Boyd, and they would have won the hidden yardage game in that game. So continued red zone success on both O&D. I would give that a yes for the most part Saturday, but you can see how that the objectives in my mind, you kind of see it was a little bit of this, a little bit of that. That's kind of how that game was. There was a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It wasn't, overly crisp game in some respects when you talk about it as a full picture, rushing, passing, and things of that nature. Oh, let me see here. David, got that one. Let's see this one. Shellcracker Lover. Like the name. I realized last year at the Nebraska game when you've got when Memorial Stadium is full, and you're talking about a stadium that seats almost, 63,000, somewhere in there. And you've got the home side that really serves as a barrier from the student section because it bounces off that side and comes back towards the student section. It's a loud place to play, and I've coached it at that stadium in that respect. So it isn't anything that was unnatural when we played and when I was at Ball State, maybe they had 40, 45, 50 on one time, I think, when we were there, and it's loud. It can get loud, and it can be a hard place to play. That's a correct assessment. But in that respect, we're, hopefully, and again, this Saturday, they're going to need the student section even bigger. And we'll talk about that. But hey, don't leave me. I'm going to come back with a little bit of film from Saturday. So we stay right there here on the Hoosier Tailgate on the Hoosier.com. We'll be back right after some of these messages.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets. You ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors? Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code ON3, and you will get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. 1. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using bonus code ON3. 2. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. 3. You will receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure you use bonus code ON3 when you sign up. Make this college football season 1 for the history books. Make it legendary. Don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code ON3 and get your $1,500 first bet offer today. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only. U.S. promotional offers not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER available in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPNBY or text HOPNY 467369, New York. Call 1-800-NEXT STEP, Arizona, 1-800-327-5050, Massachusetts, 1-800-BETS-OFF, Iowa.
Welcome back to the Indiana Hoosier Tailgate here on the Hoosier.com. Thank you for taking time out and understanding there with some of the messages. Let's take a little look of some of this game on Saturday. And got some plays here of interest, but Indiana did quite well on a lot of these. This was just a quick 1st and 10, and this is when Fernando's on it, because they're dropping to a cover 3. This should be a dead route into the boundary, and he does a great job of waiting for the window open, then he rips it, and that is why right now he's on it, and very good there by him on that. Down here, here's the touchdown. This is beautiful. What I liked about this one, they had not run this, and they changed the launch point. I think this is very important for them to continue to do, especially against aggressive teams, is change the launch point for Fernando, not always back, drop back and things like that. Use the boots, use the sprint outs. But here's a great throw on a sprint out, little stop route. EJ, they do a great job there. I mean, he really had his choice here. He could have thrown it to Sarratt if he wanted to there. But this guy popped open late when he was going through his reads, because you can kind of see him here right now. Right there, he's looking about that Sarratt, and he just kind of doesn't have a clear enough picture. Then he's going to look out there into the flat, and then boom, he comes right back to EJ, and EJ does a great job of getting in the end zone there. I think we got here's a good look from behind. The anticipation of Fernando here is ridiculous. Okay. I know it's a little blurry there, but this is Williams. This is the DB. He's already in the process of throwing. This DB is ultimately going to take himself out of it, and he's going to hit EJ. I mean, that's phenomenal. That's phenomenal anticipation by Fernando. Great job on all that. Here's another big play, 2nd and 10. This is great protection up front. They're rushing 4, playing kind of a cover 2 in behind it. They do a great job on twists. They do a great job. And look at that pocket. That is great. And that's why he was able to throw this dig, because this is a long route to run. And boom, good throw, good catch. But more importantly, what a great job by the O-line there in pass pro. Here's a big 2nd and 17. Okay, Benson gets beat here on the speed rush. Everything else inside there is pretty good. They had some strong boys up there. They had these guys last year. A lot of these guys were returning. Fernando does a good job of stepping up and finding Nowinski on the tight end delay route. This is just a quick delay punch. He's helping with the protection there with the tight end or with the tackle. I'll show you what I mean here if you didn't see it. He's helping Carter Smith here with this rush guy. This is one of their top sack leaders. He gives him a chunk, passes him off, goes to the flat, and this is a great job for Fernando checking down. He makes a guy miss, and there he goes. This is a kid, comes in from Wisconsin. He's not known much as a receiver, and he's done pretty darn good this year in the receiving department. This is a touchdown that they throw to Sarratt. It's tough to see this route, but this is right here. This is Becker in at Z. He's going to run a post route. They're in man coverage. Whoops. He's going to come and run a post route to take and occupy him. This guy is going to run a wheel route, which is just going to clear this whole area out. So take some time to develop. Middle field, this is a middle field close, so he's not going to throw the post. Okay? He could throw the wheel route. If they cover it, he's getting off of it, and that's what he does. They cover the wheel, so now he's checking down. Great job here, and then this is a great open field move. Boop! He broke his ankles, dude. That was great throw and catch, and again, perfect execution there in the red zone. This is the big run. Now, what happened? Here's what happened on this big run. Now, I'll show you why they scored. You see number 7 here? He's coming on the field late. They don't have 11 guys on the field because they changed personnel, and Indiana went on a quick tempo and caught him. And so that put him in jeopardy there because he overruns, and he basically black runs where he was, where that guy was. So, I mean, that was more of Michigan State's fault and not having the right guys on the field than, in that respect on that touchdown run. But again, a good job here on an inside zone play. You're going to see some of the blocking here. You kind of see what they're doing. Double team here. These two guys, he's going to get up to here. These guys are working together. They would come up for this backer, but this backer steps out here because they're slanting their tackle. And right there, man, it's off to the races. I mean, nice hit and hole. Great job. That was the big run that they had. All right, here's the post route that he threw. This is unbelievable. They're kind of playing a little bit of a cover 2 look again. And what they do with Sarratt is just kind of clear him. And he's going to take not only this guy, but he's going to take that guy as well. That's why this post opens up, as Cooper does a great job beating the corner there. Fernando sees it. Great ball. Never broke stride. Big touchdown for Indiana on that one. And then, I'll throw the last one in here. I think, this is the throw to Sarratt. Just a tremendous throw. I mean, that was phenomenal in that regard. Here's some of the defense from Saturday. Here is 3rd and 13. And you can see here, Indiana just doesn't get home. I mean, they're checking Kamara down here. You can see the tight end hit him. They're showing pressure. They drop out. They're playing Tampa too. Okay. Well, and what I mean by that, that's Farrell, I think. He's got the deep middle. These guys are going to come out like they are hook curl. So this throw that this guy throws here, I'm surprised that it was open, but see what happens is Farrell takes the guy number 2 as he goes down the chute, which ultimately opens up the dig in behind, and there's nobody there. I mean, so that's one you tap, the protection was great enough that they were able to get it. This was one of their big runs. Indiana slanting to the right. So they had the right call on for this particular play offensively. And this is why they got him, because they just opened up a huge hole on that 2nd and 4. Let's make sure. Any questions? You can do it. Another good play call here. This is a 4th and 1. Indiana goes with their bare front, thinking that they're just going to run some type of sneak, and they end up throwing a quick screen outside. So this is a great call right here and getting a huge play. And this is their first drive of the game that at least Indiana holds them here and forces them to kick a field goal in that regard. Let's see here. This was on the touchdown one. And what happened here, this is what Coach Cignetti was saying in the press conference. Indiana's kind of doing a fire zone blitz. He's got to drop more like this and not take the flat, because the corner's not going to fall. The corner's going to rally, let them throw it out here and rally to the ball. But he's got to take the angle away, but he doesn't. And this is what happens when you don't. His drop was not right, and they've come in from behind and throw the slant route. The only person I'm not sure what's doing here is the safety, because he should have been there in a position to potentially get him on that one. But that one, Kellen has got to be more vertical in his drop, let the flat go, and then let the corner take it, but he'd be in a great position in that hook curl zone from that perspective. Okay, let's see here. This is one of their big sacks is the end of the quarter. Indiana gets, boom, right there. That was great. And that was the big man. That was, I think, Hosa Wheeler on that one. And then let's see here. Here's a 4th and 2 that they were able to get. They don't get any pressure. This is that's 4th and 2. You got to win here. They don't bring any pressure. They're rushing 4. And, they're a step, a day late and a dollar short here. And this is a great throw. And you just got to tip your cap to the kid when that happens. I'm trying to see if there's another sack here. Again, this is a great pass breakup. This was in the 3rd quarter. This is the first 3rd and 8. And they do a great job right there. D'Angelo does on the dig route and gets a big one there. But, from that perspective, you can see Indiana. Again, it was kind of like one of those games. You had a little this, a little that when it all said and done. And we'll have more on Thursday for the UCLA preview. But right now, you got Nico. You got they've got 3 wide receivers that can get it done and got speed. Their running game has been solid. You heard Kurt Cignetti talk about averaging 233 yards over the last 3 games. So we're facing a very hot type of team coming in on Saturday. They changed their offensive coordinator. We knew that, Tino, and their defensive coordinator. So they not only did they fire Deshaun Foster, but they fired the 2 coordinators. So you got 2 new coordinators stepping in with Neuheisel on offense and their D-line coach, I think, on defense. And while they've added their own flavor to it, it's still what they probably came into camp with. So you get some of that stuff and you get new people calling it, and there's a new vision, there's new juice, and you got a hot UCLA team coming in here on Saturday, big noon kickoff in the morning, and then of course the 12 o'clock start for Indiana and UCLA, which is a 9 o'clock game for UCLA back on the coast. But this is going to be a dogfight. This is going to be a type of game that maybe Indiana versus Penn State still could be, but was thinking would be when that game rolled around. But the way UCLA is playing right now, they're playing as good as anybody in the Big Ten. Let's see here. PK. On the recruiting side, yeah, they did have a lot of kids there. I know that Indiana's picking up on a couple of kids that decommitted from Penn State that they were on as well. And then Saturday was a lot of, that 27, 28 class type of kid coming in. I think they're sitting good. I think they're sitting good with some guys that maybe have a change of heart now and want to give Indiana more of a look based upon what they've been able to do. Get on over to the Hoosier.com as well as Rivals. On3 and Rivals have now combined forces, and you're going to find a lot of great info there about the update from this Saturday of who was all there, as well as some of those kids' responses about being at Indiana. So you can always get that from there. Yeah, Michigan State's a better team than what their record is reflecting right now, but their defense is not good though. And that was pretty and where they're getting hurt defensively is in the passing game and teams being able to get the throw down vertical down the field, and then their inability to really get any pressure. I mean, that was, like I said, that was the weird part Saturday. They weren't getting pressure, but Indiana couldn't run it on them. I mean, it was crazy, but that's kind of how it goes sometimes. Here we go. Last question. I didn't think UCLA looked too good against Maryland, even though they won. Yeah, again, Maryland's a good ball club. There's another club that's good. They're playing a true freshman at quarterback. He's phenomenal. The Washington kid. He's a great player. Who had the ball last in that game won. That's what it came down to. And unfortunately, Maryland was on the wrong side of the score. But UCLA right now is thinking they can't be beat. I mean, you got to give them a ton of credit. They took the ball down the entire length of the field practically and got in a position to kick the field goal. And that's where that Nico, the quarterback is, I'm telling you, that kid's dangerous. And Indiana is going to face those type of quarterbacks like Childs was. They can hurt you running it. They can hurt you throwing it. And you better have people accounting for them because they can stretch the play and make big plays with their legs as much as they can their arm. Indiana's going to have to get pressure on him because if they don't, he's the type of guy that can step back and pick you apart. So we'll have that all on Thursday. So come back Thursday evening at 7:30 for the Hoosier Tailgate UCLA preview as we really lock into these Bruins and what the challenges that Indiana will look at on Saturday, a part of the big noon kickoff. So look forward to that. But come on back on Thursday. We'll do it all again and take a look at what the Bruins bring to the table here on Thursday. But for now, I'm the coach, Shannon Griffith. You've been watching the Hoosier Tailgate right here on the Hoosier.com. Good night, everybody.